Hi, welcome to this video. Now in this video, I'm going to show you guys one word problem. So let's say today we live in a frictionless world, okay? And we have this object right here, that object. And I'm going to use my hand to pull that object down and then let go, okay? And here, the object is attached to a spring. So the ball is going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, like that. Okay, and then let's assume that, again, we are living in this magical world where the spring is just going to go up and down, up and down. The object is just going to go up and down, non-stop. Okay? All right, so this is the ground. And you see this h of t, that expression tells us how far above the ground the ball is. Okay, so that is the distance between the ball to the ground. So maybe this will be an example where maybe let me make it more obvious. Maybe something like that. That could be when the ball is at the maximum height, right? So a maximum height, and this could be when the ball is at the minimum height. Okay, which is something that we need to find for part A, because they want us to find the highest and the lowest height. Okay, so that's how do we do this? And we can actually we should be able to answer this without a calculator. Okay, so how? Now, if you think about this, I have cosine of 400t. I'm not going to look at the 120. I'm not going to look at the negative 10. Okay, I'm going to start with this cosine of 400t. What is the maximum value that I can get out of this? And what is the minimum value that I can get out of this? This is a cosine function. So the maximum value is going to be 1, right? The maximum cosine value has to be 1. And we learned about this when we were talking about unit circle. So what's the smallest cosine value? That would be negative 1. Right? So the cosine value will give us the smallest value could be negative 1, and the biggest value could be 1. Now with these two values, one of them is going to give me the highest, another one is going to give me the lowest. So let's see. So if my h of t, and the 120 stays there, the minus 10 stays there. Now, let's say today I want to find, instead of h of t, I'm going to say h, biggest. So this is the biggest height, okay? We're talking about the highest for now. Now, what should I put in there? Is it the negative 1? Or is it the 1? It should be negative 1, right? Because if I have 120 minus 10 times negative 1, then I'll get 130. So let's say meters. So the highest, the ball has a maximum height when it's somewhere here, and the height is gonna be 130 meter. Okay, so to find the lowest height, so let's say h, lowest. Okay, that's when, again, 120 minus 10. So in this case, I would have the 1. The 1 would go in there, right? And that gives me 110. So this part, that would be maybe 110. Okay, so we don't really need to solve anything. We are able to find the answer to this question purely based on our knowledge, right, of cosine value. Because cosine value, the biggest value would be a 1. The cosine value would have a smallest value of negative 1. And one of those two values will give me a highest when I put in the expression, right? And the other, in this case, when I put in negative 1, I will have a 130, which is my greatest height. and if my t is 1, if my cosine of 400t is 1, then I have the smallest height. So we're looking at this as a whole, okay? We're looking at that as a whole. So this box here, this box right there, can be either that or that. Of course, we can have values in between, but since we're only interested in the highest and lowest, that's why we are looking at -1 and 1, which are the highest and lowest for the cosine value. Okay, this is a pretty conceptual question, and if you need help, please talk to me in class, okay? Now let's continue. All right, still the same question, but this is part B. They want us to find the time required to complete one full oscillation. So one full oscillation, another word, this is a fancy word of one full cycle. And one full cycle, I hope a word starts with P pops in the head. E-R-I-O-D, period. This is basically asking us to find the period. How long does it take to complete one full cycle? So for example, maybe the ball starts from here, and then it moves down, hits the minimum, go back up, come back there, go up, hit the maximum, go back down, back to the original place. So how long does it take for this complete oscillation, complete cycle? Okay. Now, my equation is not in standard form, and we are more used to the standard form, so I'm going to convert that to standard form. Okay. Now, let me change my color. This is my A, this is my B, and we don't have a C, and that is my D. If I want to find period, if I'm looking for period, which is it A, is it B, or is it D? That's going to be useful for me. I hope your answer is B, right? Because I know that the value of B, period, is equal to 2 pi over B. Right now, our B is equal to 400, so 2 pi over 400, 2 and 400 simplifies, so my period is equal to pi over 200. I think in this case, minutes, maybe the time unit is minute. Okay, so the period is pi over 200. So it takes pi over 200 minutes to complete one full cycle. All right. Okay, let's continue. Part C, and this is the last bit of this video. Now find the first time when the ball reaches the maximum height. When we talk about maximum height, we did that in part A, right? Maximum height happens at 130, correct? So my maximum height, let me change back to red. So my maximum height is 130, and that happens when my cosine of 400t, maximum height was 130, and that happens when my cosine of 400t is equal to -1. Make sense? We already did this when we were trying to solve part A, right? So all we have to do now is to find what does the t value has to be so that I will get a -1. Now, if you think about the unit circle, cosine of an angle gives me -1. what does that angle have to be in terms of radians? So cosine, we're looking at the unit circle. Since cosine is the x value, we're talking about this part. So what's that angle? I hope your answer is pi, right? So when your angle is pi, you will get an 81. In other words, let me write that in different color. Cosine of pi is equal to -1. So they have to be the same. Does that make sense? Cosine of 400t gives you 81. Cosine of pi gives you 81. So 400t is equal to pi. Therefore, t is equal to pi over 400. Again, this will be in minutes. Okay, so when your time is pi over 400, that will be the first time when the ball reaches the maximum height, which is 130. Right? Make sure you bring questions to class if there's anything in this video where you're not sure of. Especially, I think you guys might have find part A and part C a bit more challenging, right? So bring your questions to class and we'll talk about it. All right, this is it. I'll see ya. Bye-bye.